My name is Susan Ashaford and I'm the designer and creator of Sugar Snap Jewelry Kits. Today we're going to make one of my latest, which is called Sunrays. As you may know, a portion of the profits go to breast cancer charities. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for your purchase because that's very important. So, you've unpacked all your parts and pieces and you laid them out and we're ready to get started. As with all the other kits, we've included some practice wire so that you can practice making the piece before you actually get going underway for real. So, I know this piece doesn't look tricky, but if you noticed, according to the Sugar Snap Potometer, it is a not so peasy. Now what we do is we threaded our freshwater pearl onto the practice wire, and I go about halfway and I make a U, not a V. I don't want to pull the wire too taut. I just want it to be kind of floating there in the middle of the wire. Now at this point we will begin the process of wrapping the wire, ergo the pearls, onto the round circle frame. And what you do is one wire goes over and one wire goes under. And you hold the pearl, you secure it with your fingers while you start the process of wrapping. So you wrap. And what's difficult about this piece to make is that you just kind of have to have a feel for the wire. You don't want to pull it too tight, you don't want there to be kinks, but it needs to be just tight enough so that the bead doesn't slip around. So at this point I'm going to start wrapping the other side just so it becomes secure, so our pearl doesn't move as we're trying to work on either side of the pearl. So you get it, so it's kind of tight now, but if you notice I left my revolutions of wire kind of loose. They just have kind of an airy feel. Now at this point what you do is I thread on, and be careful that that little circle, that little loop, that little jump ring is the official jewelry term, stays up the top. You don't want to get caught in your wire. Maybe just move it over to the other side while you're wrapping your beads on. So at this point I thread my other pearl, my little kind of oblong shaped silver one, onto my wire. Oops, how'd that little guy get over there? Put that back over there. Okay, so, and you have to determine if you want 2 revolutions or 3. I've done 2. I don't think I'm quite far enough away from that pink pearl, so I go around one more time just to put a little more distance between the next pearl that I'm going to use and that pearl. Thread it back on. Now sometimes it will happen that you've worked your wire and it gets a little kinky at the end and it gets more and more difficult to thread a bead on, particularly when you're working with the pearls. If that happens, take your pliers, which are here, or for ease sometimes I just use a pair of scissors, and you just snip off a little bit of the wire so you can get a fresh end that's not kind of twisted and kinked. Okay, so back to wrapping our pearls on. So again, you don't want to pull too tight, you don't want any angles, it's just supposed to have an airy, kind of loose look. So I am going now to begin wrapping the wire around the frame to secure it. Okay, so we've got that bead on. I'm going to do one more revolution. So now we're ready to do the rose quartz, and where we've been wrapping in the direction going up, this bead goes back towards the large pink pearl. So we slide this on, and you do it in kind of like a little arc toward the silver bead. And then you hold the wire. I hold the wire just so it doesn't slip because I determine where I want the wire to be, how I want it to look, how loose I want that arc to be. So now I like where it is right there. I hold it with my other hand and I begin the process of ending it. So I wrap it a couple of times, get it nice and snug in there. Oh, and see what happened? It moved anyway. But that's okay. This is just a practice one. Be mindful of that though when you're making yours. So at this point, we're ready to trim this excess wire, and we have the cutters that we came with the kit, or I also have a pair of scissors standing nearby because I like to use those sometime. And you trim the excess little tail. Now this is a pretty important point. At this point you're going to tuck that little excess wire that's sticking out because you really want to make sure that you don't leave any sticking out, because if you do, it could jab you when you're wearing the piece. And you don't want that to happen. So I'm tucking that down. Okay, now we're ready to start on the next side. Again, you move your little jump ring out of the way. And I think at this point we're ready to put on our next bead. I think I'm pleased with the way that is, the position that is in. And I'm going to slide on. I think it's the rose quartz that goes next. Yes, it is. Slide that. Oops, the daisy. Rose quartz on there. Now sometimes it puts up a little bit of a fight. You can give it a little twist, try to persuade it to go on there. Now the other problem may be that there could be a kink in that, so I'm going to trim it to yield a fresh end and try again to put it on. And there we go. So that was the problem, that the end was a little bit kinked up. Now, again, it's still a little bit of a snug fit, so I'm going to hold it with that, and with my finger, just work it down there. Okay, so we're ready to position our rose quartz gemstone right there. And that looks good to me. I like the distance it is from the big pearl in the middle. And again, I'm going to hold the bead while I begin wrapping it. Couple revolutions. And then don't forget, with this next bead, you're going to be working back toward the big pink pearl with your little pink pearl. So you slide that on, and you do kind of an arc again. This is where you want the right touch. You don't want to yank, you don't want to pull too hard, you don't want to end up with a kink in the middle of your wire. So right there, right about right there. This is not a difficult piece to make. It just takes a little while to get comfortable working with the wire. So I think that looks good right there. Again, I'm going to try to hold the wire, keep it from slipping as I begin the process of wrapping. Now it's best to use your tool at this point because you can really get it to pull kind of snug, because you want to secure that as best as possible. So I'm going to cut the excess wire at this point with my scissors. I went around once or twice. Trim that off, the excess, and then you tuck it. Just to make sure that nothing's sticking out, nothing's going to jab you. It's nice and secure, it won't unravel. And it looks great, it looks beautiful. So, what we've done, and we haven't done this before with any other kits this way, is we've made this one, and this is the way it looks on the box. This is the way it's intended to look. But what we've done is we're including a couple of variations with this kit, because we want you to feel free to express the piece the way you'd like. So this is just a couple of options. If you don't want to do it the way that we did it, you can do it other ways. And I'm sure there's 1,000 other ways that your brain can think of to make this piece your own. Or you can do it the way we did. Now we've also included a couple of extra beads so you can really funk it up and make it your own. But that's basically it. I think we've covered all the parts and pieces, all the points. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for purchasing a Sugar Snap jewelry kit. And bear in mind that your purchase of this Sunrays necklace, we donate a portion of the profits to breast cancer charities. Thank you very much for buying a Sugar Snap jewelry kit. Bye!